Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for you. My guest is on Zoom right now, and he is from Days of Our Lives. That's right, the NBC soap opera Days of Our Lives. And his name is... I'm not going to tell you that yet. But watch this little video package from his time on Days, see what he's what he's about, and then I'll see you back here with my guest. See you soon. Be good, people.
Where are you taking me?
We'll see.
Look, if you're just gonna shoot me, then why don't you go ahead and do it already?
What? Why would I shoot you, Wendy?
Wendy.
My sweet Wendy. So beautiful. I have big plans for you, my love.
Like what? Vincent, where are you taking me?
If I told you, it would be a surprise.
That's right, everyone. I have on Zoom right now Michael Teh, and he played Vincent in Days of Our Lives. Hey, Michael, how are you doing?
G'day, Scotty. Good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm so glad to have you on. I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to this ever since we set this up, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's what you tell all the boys.
So the first question I got, what was that?
I said, thanks very much for having me.
Oh, not a problem. It's honestly my honor. So the first question I got for you is, how did you get your start into acting?
Oh, that's kind of a long story. I had a immigrant Asian father who expected me to be a doctor, investment banker, management consultant, or lawyer, like a good Asian child is meant to be. And so I studied commerce law and started a career as a management consultant. And he actually wanted me to be an investment banker on Wall Street. So I then went to do my MBA in the States at Northwestern at Kellogg. I summered on Wall Street, hated it, went back to consulting, focusing on media and entertainment companies in New York, and then did a startup, and then a number of things happened. Sadly, my dad died. I got diagnosed with melanoma. The dot-com crash happened. And I did a self-development course, and all these things had me realize that I was living someone else's dream for me, and that he wasn't alive, and that I was pretty miserable. So I went traveling, and I spent some time back in Australia, and because all my friends had jobs here, I had some free time, and I took an acting class for fun. And I went, that was so much more fun than law school and business school. And I applied to a full-time theatre program in New York and got in. And then the rest is history, as they say.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So what was your audition like for Days?
It was actually, Marnie, the casting director, made it a very warm room and a very comfortable experience. And I really enjoyed it, actually. But it was during a very busy week, actually. We had to reschedule it, and Marnie, the casting director, was very kind to reschedule it, I think maybe once or twice. Not only was I doing a Larry Moss masterclass, he's a famous acting teacher, but I just had a bunch of auditions on that week, and it was crazy busy. It's either always floods or droughts. There's either nothing going on for months, and then everything hits in 1 week. So it was one of those weeks. And originally it was for 5 episodes, and I guess they liked me because they kept writing me more and more episodes. So I ended up being a pretty long cross-seasonal arc, which I feel very blessed to have had.
That's awesome. So I was going to ask this a little later, but Are you coming back on days? I mean, obviously, I don't think you're filming anymore right now, anyways. But are
Well,
you going to be appearing?
I think if I was, the answer would be I can't tell you anything.
Right.
But so that right, I think I can say at the moment there is nothing scheduled for Vincent.
Okay.
But I would love to come back sometime
Right.
because playing a villain is fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I haven't watched today's episode yet, but I have watched yesterday's, and I know that I they showed that Orpheus is the mastermind, I guess, substituting in for Vincent at this point. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
wondering if because Vincent's obviously in jail, so I was wondering, is Vincent coming back, or is he going to be working with Orpheus? I didn't know how that was all working, and I don't think there's six
You'll
months in
have to ask
advance
the
anymore.
writers. You'll have to
Yeah.
ask the writers. Or maybe I should send bribe money to the writers or something.
Exactly. Pull a Vincent on them, right? So the next one is so when you were offered the part of Vincent, did you know that you were going to be this far involved with the Ben Ciara story arc?
No, because like I said, it was originally a 5 episode
Hmm.
mini contract,
Right,
and I guess they just kept extending it. So
right.
it was a pleasant surprise.
Nice. So
Um,
where was this supposed to end with Vincent? Like, what was the original end game?
I don't know. I mean, uh, the writers write as they go, and
Okay.
before the lockdown, Days of Our Lives was very far ahead. Like
Hmm.
they had many episodes in the bank,
Hmm.
so that they could lock down for a while and still be showing new episodes for a lot of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So it's really not clear to me what the writers' process is, or process is,
Right.
as you guys would say. Um, I have to think about that now that I'm back in Australia. I just auditioned for something in an Australian dialect, and I have to think of
Nice.
not saying words in the American way sometimes.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the writers, there's probably some storylines they've probably mapped out for um, very long periods of time, and some
Right.
they're kind of making up as they go along. And then if
Right.
they find an actor that they like, they might go, "Oh, wow, let's extend that storyline a little bit further."
Right.
So
Like
I
they did
think
with
that's
you.
how they operate. But that's a good question for the writers, not me.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So, so what was I first let me say that I interviewed Michael Manning. He played
He's a
Charlie
former
Dale.
he's a former classmate of mine, and
Nice.
yeah, I know him well. He's a good
Awesome. Yeah,
guy.
I interviewed him a couple weeks ago. It wasn't over Zoom, it was over the phone, but I still interviewed him, and he had he discussed how the rape scenes kind of traumatized him in a way for his character. So my
Yeah,
question for you is something
yeah.
similar, but how was it like doing the torture scenes on Ben? Did that affect you in any way, or like how was that?
That was just really fun. I mean, to be honest, like they were pretty intense, melodramatic scenes, but
Right.
uh, the actors, we were kind of laughing at it with each other in between takes,
Hmm.
because it was really just an opportunity for Rob to get his shirt off. um, but yeah, I mean, I think different scenes require different emotional intensity, and
Right.
it was probably a little harder for Rob, who was receiving the torture.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had no problems delivering it.
Nice. It really came off rather torturous. Like it really came off really well. Like it just was amazing. Like the way it was implemented. I really applaud you and Rob and Cassie for all you did for those scenes. It was really intense. Like
Oh,
you really
well, thank
did
you
it
very
well.
much. I
No
guess
problem.
I'm a good natural
No problem.
torturer.
So what was it like working with Victoria and Robert and Cassie?
Really, really fun. Like I was saying, Rob and Cassie, we were often laughing and joking around in between
Hmm.
takes, and they always arrived, prepared and ready to have fun
Hmm.
and get it done, because you only get one take, which is a little
Right.
frightening. Um, and Victoria, same thing, very emotionally available. I didn't get to work with her as much,
Mhm.
and that's a shame. I would have loved to have worked with her some more. So
Mhm.
maybe if Vincent does come back one day, maybe he'll get to do that. Who knows?
Maybe that'd be
It's all up in the
nice.
writer's hands.
So how was the explosion of the car scene done? Is there any intel or intake on how that was implemented?
Well, they did that on the soundstage, and so
Nice.
soaps used to have bigger budgets back in the day,
Hmm.
where they could take stuff outside and shoot things on location, and occasionally extravagantly shoot things in some scenes in Paris or something if there was a couple on a honeymoon. But now the budgets are so much tighter that everything is shot on a soundstage,
Hmm.
and so they just cleared a number of the the sets where they normally have furniture and all kinds of other things, and they kind of emptied it all out and
Hmm.
mocked it up to make it look like it was outside an airport and
Right.
dark, and brought in they had like, two cars, the car before it burns and then the car once it's burning, and it was just kind of rigged up with lots of gas burners, I guess,
Nice.
and yeah, and there's a fire marshal and I think a few other people with their hands on fire extinguishers.
That's awesome.
And then they pulled it off. Yeah, it was
Awesome.
kind of cool what they can do on a low budget on a
It really
soundstage.
is. It really is. So let's see. So did your whole story, like the whole storyline with Ben as the next Eye killer and him shooting Wendy, did you know that like you were involved with Wendy, or how did you find out about it? That was all added in last
Oh,
minute?
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a struggle actually in the beginning, because the writers hadn't given me any reason for why I was so evil.
Right.
Like Ben asks Vincent, why are you doing this to me? And Vincent says, for the money. And
Right.
so that was the only thing the writers had given me. And I guess
Hmm.
as they extended me, they went, oh, we should give him a reason for why he really is out against Ben. And it was a really good one.
It really
Revenge
was.
revenge is a good reason. And if
Right.
he'd taken my wife's life, then that
Hmm.
justifies why Vincent is such a cruel bastard. And it really helps to have had that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't have that in the beginning, so
Right.
I'm glad they helped rescue me.
Yeah, and think about it, like if first of all, if Ben didn't kill Wendy, then that would have really, I don't know how they would have implemented that otherwise, because that was a really good like throwback to Ben's past to put right into Vincent's, right into his storyline of why he's doing this. It was very clever on their part.
Do, was Wendy ever mentioned, or was a fourth victim ever mentioned back when all
Yes,
that happened?
she was actually seen. She was delivering Abigail's and Ben's baby in the cabin that Ben burned down when he was the necktie killer. And he took, after she delivered the baby, he took Wendy outside and shot her. But they didn't show him shoot her, but you hear the gun shot. And then they mentioned the body was found.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay, right.
Yep.
I didn't even realize that. I thought
Yep.
they could have written it as though that happened in addition to things which were talked about. Well, then, yeah, it was
Yep.
great that they tied that back in.
It was. It really was. It really brought things back to the character of Ben back when he was the necktie killer. And this, as they say, revenge is a dish best served cold. And Vincent delivered the blow. Like he did it for the money, as you said, with Cassie. But ultimately, he had his own agenda in the end, and it was avenging Wendy's death.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me see. What was your most memorable moment while filming Days?
Well, that's a good question. Um, yeah, no, I mean, probably you probably brought it up already. I mean, having the car explode into fire was like a bigger day. Like it was
Right.
definitely not a normal day. Um, yeah, and also maybe excuse me, getting to work with Christian Alfonso,
Yeah.
uh, like the during in Australia, or it depends on your state, I guess, but you have huge end of year high school exams in New South Wales, which is the state where Sydney's in. And they're very important. They tend to be full working, so essays if they're humanities, and full working if they're mathematics or sciences, as opposed to multiple choice. And how well you do in those exams determines what universities you can get into and what subjects you can study there. And so certain subjects require a lot higher mark. And so they give you 3 weeks to study for these final exams. And that's the only time I was home when the soaps were on when I was growing up. And you can't study all day for 3 weeks. And so at lunchtime, I would turn on and I'd watch Bold and the Beautiful and Days of Our Lives. And I wouldn't normally watch soaps because I was at school. And and back then, Hope and Bo were the hot couple. And so that's pretty much all I knew about Days of Our Lives. And so it was kind of cool to be working with Hope. She's like still there. And trust me, that was a long time later. And she still looks great, and she's a great actress and so welcoming and warm to work with. So that was a great moment too.
That's awesome. And it's a shame. I don't know if you knew this, but she is off the show now. Maybe she'll come back. She's out there looking for Sierra. What did Vincent do with her? Searching the world.
Yeah, we follow each other on Instagram, and
nice.
I saw her doing her final episode and stuff.
She's actually on my Facebook, and I would like to interview her, but she's, I don't know if I'll ever get to her. There's so many, she has so many interviews. She's a big name in Hollywood, and little slasher Scotty here. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll happen someday.
You don't know until you ask, right?
You never know till you ask. So I get nervous. I get nervous when I reach out to everybody.
Well, hopefully I'm not too scary, even though
you're great. You're awesome. I'm glad that you agreed to do the interview. I was a little nervous also reaching out to you because nobody wants to hear like, no, I'm not available or whatever. But I mean, it's been great, and I've been getting a lot of interviews, and it's been good to have you accepted. Especially you and Michael Manning, having you both on was amazing. It really is.
Hey, it's our pleasure.
Thank you. So obviously, you kind of mentioned it to an extent, but so we know Days obviously films all that time in advance. Now they're not because, with the pandemic pushing everything back. Did you film it all during the COVID era or not?
Yeah, and so I started shooting in November the year before last, and then shot right up until the shutdown, which I think was maybe March, or a little bit later. Maybe it was, I guess the beginnings of the pandemic had started, and then everything was shut. And they were dark for maybe 4 or 5 months. And I actually came back to Australia, and then they said they'd like me to shoot some more episodes. And so then I flew back. I was meant to shoot 4 more, but we lost one. There was a really fun one, actually. It was scheduled for Halloween. And actually, when I first read the script, I was like, what is going on here? There's like zombies, and I'm shot, and now I'm flirting with another zombie. I'm like, did I miss a couple of episodes? And I just was like, what is going on? And I emailed the casting director and I said, did I miss some scripts or something? Because I am completely lost now. And she said, no, it's a special Halloween edition. And I went, oh, that makes sense. But it didn't get, because of the Olympics being canceled, the schedule changed, and they lost the opportunity to show the Halloween one. And so we didn't end up shooting that one. So I ended up coming back for just another 3 episodes. And then, we had full, SAG and the producers unions had come up with COVID procedures, and it was a very different experience.
I bet.
We're being tested every day, and in my case, tested before as well. And a lot of people were in full PPE, and there were separate zones, and you were in your dressing room when you weren't working, and there was no mingling, etc. So it was a very different experience. Crazy. But they're still shooting now. Like they've been shooting through the winter, which amazes me given how badly LA had it. So
right. I
kind of
think they were only
surprising.
down for like maybe 2 weeks when one of the crew members tested positive, and that was really it. That was the only one that they really had that tested positive, and then they just shut down for those 2 weeks, and then they went right back on the horse, as they say,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
crazy.
So it is kind of amazing that there are still
Hmm.
productions happening in
Right.
LA. Yeah, because a
Yeah.
lot of productions have fled to Canada or
Hmm.
Australia. There's tons of
Hmm.
productions shooting down here
Yep.
because we're so blessed to have hardly any COVID.
That's
So
really good. Yeah.
I'm in
And it's
Sydney,
oh, sorry.
and yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that I was thinking back to what you were thinking about the Halloween episode, because I remember they started doing those Halloween episodes like that, and like there's nothing really to do with the storyline a few years back. Like it wasn't like an every year type of thing. It was like just as a few years back, and I remember when I first seen it. I forget what the arc was for that episode, but I remember when I first saw them do that type of Halloween episode for the very first time, my face was just like yours. I'm like, what is going on? And then like at the end of it, it's like somebody wakes up from a dream or something happens that, that there's back to reality world. And I'm like, oh, it's a Halloween episode. That's right. It's Halloween. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I was completely confused when I was reading the script. I was like, oh no. Like normally I'm pretty good at picking up logic and storyline, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm completely lost. So
No,
yeah, it
that's
was kind of funny.
crazy. That's crazy. So the last question I got for you is, do you have any projects, social media accounts, websites, or anything else that you'd like to promote to anyone watching or listening this interview?
Sure. I have. Well, I've got a couple of things coming out. I think a little film called Paradise Cove that I
Okay.
shot probably 2 or 3 years ago now. I think it just came out on one of the streaming platforms. I can't even tell you which one, which is embarrassing. But I can actually say I'm not really a villain in that one. So that's a
Okay.
rarity for me because I play a lot of villains. And there's another show where I'm not a villain as well. I actually made it to the final 3 for a series regular role as an FBI agent on the
Okay.
Amazon show called The Wilds.
Nice.
And I didn't get it, but I ended up getting a smaller role. And it's a young adult show on
Mhm.
Amazon. It's kind of like a cross between Lord of the Flies and Lost,
Okay.
but it's young teenage girls who are marooned on an island
Okay.
and how they deal with it.
Nice.
And I have a small role in that, which is streaming on Amazon
Okay.
at the moment. And then on social media, I am at actor Michael Teh, T-E-H, actor
Okay.
Michael Teh, T-E-H. And
Awesome.
I tend to be more active on Instagram and less active on the other platforms, Twitter and Facebook.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for your time, Michael.
Oh, no, thank you very much for your interest, and
Awesome.
take
No
care
problem.
over there, everybody, especially people in
Awesome.
America.
Sounds
Where
great. Before I let you go, I just want to let everybody know to make sure to subscribe to the Slash of Scotty YouTube channel. Be able to see obviously if you're watching it on there, you can see the Zoom interview in its entirety on there, or you can listen to us on all the podcasting platforms. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, OpenBox, Castbox, Breaker, Anchor, and a bunch of others out there. So make sure to check us out, give us a review, a rate, whatever you can do. And again, I thank you, Michael, so much. It's been an honor having you on my show, and I mean, just stay safe and break a leg later for your the audition that you have going on.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
Cheers.
thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Yep, bye.